Welcome into SportsSource.tv and our overtime segment for this July 27th, 2014, as I, for some reason, go into Walter Cronkite mode. This segment,
That's the way it is.
This segment brought to you by Jinx Logos right there. We tell you about them every week. They do a fantastic job. You want to get your company logo out there like we have right here with Bob Hodges' logo, with his shirt. Jinx Logos, Jimmy Andrews are the folks to call. I've dealt with those kind of companies, the promotion, marketing type of companies, for 20 years in television, working at different television stations. Best guy I've ever dealt with, Jimmy Andrews. All right. Our overtime segment today, quick and easy. What is the single biggest key to Tennessee's 2014 season?
I think we've talked about it. It's the offensive line. I mean, you've got so many new players there. You don't have the experience. Even the players you have can dictate what kind of quarterback you have and how well everything goes on that. And I would say that, to me, is the single most important position group.
Okay, even more so than quarterback, it's offensive
I
line.
think it is offensive line.
Okay.
Can I go a different direction?
Sure.
I'm going to say beating Utah State.
The single
I
most
think
important thing,
that's
huh?
the single most important. If Tennessee, and it would go back to what we said during the show, if Tennessee loses that game, I think it's a negative for the team. I think it's a huge downer for your fans.
You've now up around 60,000 season tickets, which isn't
Yes,
great,
you
but
got
it's
a
better.
little bit more interest coming in. People are a little bit more excited, and if you start off to a loss to a team perceived to be worse than they really are, then I think that's just a Debbie Downer for the whole thing. And so I think that's the key. If you win that one, you're in line for a bowl game. You're staying on the schedule that you need to keep to get there. If you lose that, I just think it's going to put a cloud over the entire season for people.
Would you, based on that rationale, would you also include Arkansas State in that? Because
Yes, I would.
if you lose, I mean, if you beat Utah State and then turn around and lose to Arkansas State, you can almost put those two games together because they're both better programs than they are perceived to be. They go to
Correct.
bowls every year. They play good teams close. I think you could, put a little bracket
Put a
around
little
those
bracket
two.
around those two. I mean, if you're going for a more conventional, what's the key? I think Chuck nailed it. It's your offensive line.
Yeah.
I think you've got better skill players than you had last year with the freshmen. You don't know how good they're going to be.
They're not going to know what they're
perceived to
doing,
be.
but they're more talented. Yeah.
You've got an experienced quarterback, and you've got an experienced running back. I think if the offensive line can hold up, maybe the offense could be a little bit surprisingly efficient. But without the offensive line, now you're in real trouble.
Yeah, I think it's offensive line as well. I mean, if they can find a way to run the ball, it's a big if when you got so many greenhorns going up against. Well, the SEC has the best defensive lines in college football. That is where the NFL comes to get defensive linemen. So your offensive line, which is young and inexperienced, is going up against one of the strengths of the SEC. But if they can find a way to run the football, then you protect your defense, keep them off the field as much as possible. You eat clock, shorten the game, as we discussed earlier. You also make life easier on Justin Worley or Josh Dobbs, or whoever winds up being your quarterback. And you open up, if you're protecting him, you're giving him more time to find those new wideouts that are looking, that are expected to make a play. So to me, it all goes back to that green offensive line going up against a conference that is known for strong, mean, fantastic defensive line.
And a lot of the defensive coordinators in this league, their number one goal, their number one priority is to stop the run. And if they are going to load the box, if they are going to put the extra defenders up there, then I think you got to be able to make the adjustments with your offensive line, the way they communicate, who's going to do what, and then you got to be able to throw the ball a little bit.
Well, and let's also throw this out there because I think you're going to see it. Speaking of defensive coordinators, I think this offensive line is going to have a lot of different stuff thrown at them.
Oh, I think that's what I was getting ready to say.
And let's remember back to the Jamal Lewis stuff. He didn't get in until after that Florida game because he didn't know the blitz pickups and everything. So we're talking about not only having a very green offensive line, but if Jalen Hurd becomes your number one back, all right, he's got to be up to speed in his pass protections as well.
Well, and I think if you go back and you look at the Jamal Lewis situation, I think most people consider that was kind of a mistake.
Right, yes.
And I think it would be a mistake, too, if you limited playing time. And I want to go former UT guy, although it's now a Viking thing. Last year, Cordero Patterson didn't start touching the ball for the Vikings until game 11 and 12. When he did, he was electric. The coaches got fired for one reason, or one of the reasons was that they didn't get the ball to Cordero Patterson. I think you got to get your playmakers out there, let them make their mistakes and learn. if Jalen Hurts is as good as he's advertised, he's probably a 3-year guy anyway. So why would you waste half of one of his 3 seasons by keeping him on the bench?
I'm just saying that most coaches do. I'm not saying
I'm not saying you're wrong.
But most coaches,
I just
most
think that'd
coaches
be a
don't
horrible
just,
mistake.
Most coaches don't just take the true freshman and throw him out there. They all talk about, well, he has to learn blitz pickups and everything else. So I just think that's going to be this offensive line better be prepared to see all kinds of stuff thrown at it, because I think the defensive coordinators know exactly where the pressure point is on this Tennessee team. And I just think they're going to throw everything to the kitchen sink at them. All right. Thank you very much for joining us on Overtime. We'll see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. on WATE 6. Also, DirecTV viewers out there, if you haven't been able to record us as a series over the last 3 or 4 months, that's because DirecTV had us listed incorrectly. We are now correctly listed as a series again, which means all you have to do is go to DirecTV, take your little remote, hit the orange button twice. You will record us every single Sunday. We'll be waiting for you when you get home. Watch us anytime. See you next week on The Sports Source.